Hey everybody, this is Mr. Todd, and you're on a super special episode because it's visual, as well as audio. This is Stories and Solutions. I'm Mr. Todd, Mr. Todd's Corner, and I have a couple of special guests. Their names are here, Mario and Bertha, and I really am honored for you guys to be here. Obviously off air, we talk first, but it's I feel like I know you, and that's really cool.
Yes, and definitely an honor for us as well. So it's a pleasure as well. I really intending to enjoy this moment. So definitely just, especially if I'm allowed to be myself. So that's good.
100%.
Yes.
That's what I tell you first. First thing is first. There's no judgment here. You just speak your mind.
Nice,
But
nice.
we were talking a while back, and then the topic started going and changing, and then I know we had a few, but I really like what we were talking about earlier and the way you put it, and I wanted to hear your point of view of today, and like cultures change, things change. Obviously, you and I were talking about AI versus uh, the more modern analog times, and we have to embrace it. But at the same time, I feel like as a people, we still crave the normalcy of the past because
Yes,
of, the simplicity.
yes.
So, what is your opinion on that?
So I feel like even as if we were to want to disconnect even from AI, like we're surrounded by satellites, right? Anywhere you have the signal. So yes, your phone might be away, but they know exactly where your phone is at. So you might be close to it and so
Hmm.
forth. So definitely taking the advantage of it. And the it's kind of like if you know your enemy, you should
Yes.
be able to like conquer it faster or at least being able to work with it.
Yeah.
And I think just pushing it away. I did that a lot when the internet came around. I was like, no, no, I don't want the internet. That doesn't seem to be something right. That's gonna bring a lot of stupidity. People are just gonna just want to get access to something so quickly, so easy. Like no, hit the books. And obviously I was wrong, right? Because I wanted it to have a lot of the knowledge that now the kids have in their fingertips. Where when I was going even to school or college, I didn't have the resources to or the time, right, to go to the library and so forth. But nowadays, you can just go online and search
Right.
it and search for answers and study and be ready for those exams. So that's why I said, no, I made that mistake. We should embrace it. We should know it, of course, with a lot of caution and
Yeah.
and the purpose behind it, right? So
Yep.
not allowing it to actually just take you into being you, but more than anything, being a tool, like when you go into work, right? You have your computer, you have the connection to the Wi-Fi. We need it, otherwise we wouldn't be able to survive.
Right. Right.
Nowadays, yeah. And so
Well, yeah,
in that
and
sense,
there's still places that, my actual friend of mine, he's a consultant, and his job is he finds like mom and pops or businesses that still use like handwriting, or they may put it in a computer, but it's not in the database, you know. So he tries to, I guess, upgrade them, and I'm one of those guys like you. Like obviously I'm older, so it's like I come from way back, the rotary phone. And
yeah, I got to know those. I got to know those too.
you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
I
like,
even got to know the ones where you did it so many turns. So yeah,
and the cars.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was the only phone in the whole town.
Yeah.
So that's how. Yeah.
Yeah, that was another interesting conversation you and I had, but we'll get to that another time.
Yes,
But
yes, yes.
yeah, that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I feel like there should still be a balance. Like you have AI, but the problem is that it's not governed to what, like, the students, because they're sold on simplicity and easiness. To me, it makes them not want to do anything because they know the time frame is, oh, I could just do this in 5 minutes,
Right.
versus in our time it could take us a couple of days,
Yes.
and we, I feel, have better skills because we have to read and proofread and first draft and second draft,
Yes.
whereas now it's, oh, let me put it through this, whatever it is, Grammarly or something,
Hmm.
and it does it for you. I remember when I was in college, and this was 2010, I had went back, and I was still in the school, and they had this, I think it's MLA, is that right?
The standard format
Yeah,
for
and
writing.
it was like for me, I was like, okay, I know how to write, but I still had to learn that,
Right.
right? Whereas now it's like you just feed it in, it gives it back.
And then it gives it back to you. Yes.
Yeah, so I think that that's the AI side I don't like because I feel like the people that will end up surpassing your skill don't even have to try because they were born into this age. Whereas the older people, it's like unlearning and relearning, and that takes twice as long. So
Mm,
that's my thing.
I see.
And Bertha, you have any?
Yeah, like I used to think that way not long ago, and just lately I come to realize that maybe it's better that way because
Yeah,
I feel like we've been in so many ways dumbed down to calculate the sense when we are very complex individuals, and we can do so much more than just add or
yes,
do calculus or understand physics and all the science. Like, I think we are being pushed as humanity to really listen to our inner selves and be more spiritual, more intuitive, and more you have to think in terms of what resonates.
oh yeah,
I think that the way that we've been taught, it's compared to who we truly are, it's very low level.
yeah.
Now we're being challenged.
First dimension.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't
So
hang out
now we're
here.
being challenged to discern
Yes.
from within and pay more attention to what makes sense. Pay more attention to what from what you learn and from what you believe for yourself. Because like in every aspect, religion, economics, government, like all aspects of what we live, science, school, I mean the education we received, it kind of dumb us down,
Hmm. I'm with
making
you.
us believe we're smart by following these steps like you were saying, the MLA format. It's like I can do much better than that if you just let me think freely,
Yeah,
you
you
know?
let me express myself the way I do.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I can just let me be, and I can do better than that. But they wanna put us into this box. They wanna put us into the you gotta stretch this only muscle when I have so many other muscles that can help it be more flexible. And so it's like, yeah, like I believe that we are being pushed as humanity to rise up and really be better than we've been through school, and I feel like my taking it from my children, they want to be outside the box. They don't want to be the status quo. They don't want to
Yeah.
be, and everybody's thinking differently. Everybody's like going their own way. And I do believe that there's got to be a moral standard for humanity.
Yeah, that's missing.
Yes, it's very much missing. And I think that's where when we discern comes in. That's when we really think through what do we really want. And a lot of times that's the problem. We don't even know.
I think people, well, I have a lot of thoughts, but like when it when it comes
Mhm.
to like seeing this goes back to the technology thing. I'm not anti-technology. I just feel like I've said this to you before, but the powers that be, they know that there's a head start. Just like when you think of economy of people that grew up in a ghetto versus people that grew up middle class versus people that grew up upper class. The race, you're just moving faster. And to me, I feel like I remember when they had pagers and then text came out, and I told my now wife, she
Yes.
was my girlfriend at the time, I told her this is the beginning of the end. And she's like, why? And I said, because if no one talks to each other, no one's gonna know what they're really feeling. And
Exactly.
no one's looking at each other. And then I
Right.
said, from there, you're able to rewrite these words and like almost like write the script the way you want it to be. And from there, everybody's just gonna be angry. And this was 20 years ago or more. And that,
Hmm.
and it's not, oh, I'm a genius. It was just like, to me, I felt like I actually wrote a poem about it saying that it was de-evolution because I was talking
Yeah.
about how the people are
Mm.
going back to,
Yes.
you know, like even though you think you have technology, you're thinking primitively. And
Hmm.
and then I drew because I remember the poem the way I drew it. It had like a tablet, but it was a tablet from the cave times, like
Oh, okay.
and they look the same as the Apple tablet.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So I feel like the powers that be, it shows how much fear they have that they have to stronghold your mind.
Okay. So, well, in my kind of view per se, I think in overall we are being exposed ourselves because before it was the kind of like the power of being, we're limited, only the rich will go and has the library at their home. You don't have access, and then you were given access to it and so forth. Nowadays, the challenge is that all the knowledge that we had. So, for example, that if I was to be good in math, right? I'm really good. But now another person who is not good in math can find the answer faster than I am, than
Right.
I can. So then it's like, so it's not about finding the answers.
Mm-mm.
So when as before, it was whoever was able to find the answer. So we were taught in a bubble, but within a lie
Mhm.
of this is what is success. And even
Yes.
as we have different races and different levels and so forth, nowadays the playing field is even out.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever does not want to learn or be able to have wisdom, knowledge, and understanding or progress, it's at their fingertips. They have the phone, they have the computer somewhere at school, at work, somewhere. They have access to that knowledge. Yes, that knowledge that we're having access is limited because whatever we're being exposed to is already outdated for the person or the people that has the power on top.
Yes.
Like
That's why I mean they have the head start.
when we had the
Right.
rotary phones,
Mm-hmm.
they already had their
They
iPhone.
had a cell phone
They
in the
already had
car.
their iPhones. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We thought they only had the cell phone, but because that's what we saw. But
Yeah.
they're not showing us what they already have
Mm-hmm.
fast because that's to their advantage. So
Of course.
we are very limited onto if we close ourselves, at this point, because now we feel like we're being exposed. Whatever you
Yeah.
thought it was knowledge and it was so good and it was amazing,
Mm-hmm.
someone else can do it just using a piece of equipment, a piece of phone,
Yeah.
the same answers that you can get. Well, but that's cheating. I was like, well, that's what I asked you. So if you go to a university and you're taking a class and you take an exam, right? You gotta memorize everything. And
Yeah.
then you are good. You did the exam, you passed the class, whatever. But when you go to work, you don't remember anything of pretty much that you study in the university, you gotta go ahead and review. So if your boss
And
give you a task, you don't go, well, I do not know. I didn't learn this in the university. So it's like, no, I wanted you to get it done. What do? You do research. You use the
right.
computer, you use the technology, you use you apply that knowledge and make it work. So we're able to kind of like change our mindset into regardless of the tools that you have, what is it that you're gonna use them for? It's kind of like wisdom, right? You got knowledge,
Yeah.
but if you turn it into wisdom, it's kind of like you using that knowledge to your advantage.
A
In
hundred
the same
percent.
way as using that technology to your advantage. How fast are you going to be able to learn and adapt to that tool? That's really the challenge that we're facing at this point. That's kind of like how I see it. So we do feel challenged, especially people like us that are older,
Mm-hmm.
that man, like we thought we were, kind of like here, we had some education. Now it's like, someone can actually surpass you and they're making more money, like they're doing something else and they're making a lot more money than you. So it's
Oh yeah.
based on money,
Mm,
so in that's how I kind of like I see it. So the sooner we get to embed ourselves in knowing this tool, the sooner we'll be able to have that success. Because now our success is unlimited, but now we're gonna have to rise up, as you guys were saying, to the next level because it's not
yeah.
just about
It's just so
knowledge.
many
Yeah,
tools
it's so
at
many
this
tools.
point.
Yeah,
So many
so
tools
it's
at this point.
beyond. Yeah, it's beyond. So, how are we gonna rise up into that?
You're barely learning one, and there's a new one now.
Yes.
Yeah, see, that's my problem. I spent about $600-700 on learning cybersecurity. Now there's no jobs,
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
it's like, what's the point of, going further?
going, yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
have to know, but it's just like, you were saying earlier that with the phone, if the economy knows this is the next step, they're not going to tell you.
Right.
That's for the people they pay
Mhm.
to control it,
Yes. Yes.
and that's why I agree that knowledge is power, but that power, if that knowledge is used the wrong way,
But the thing is, knowledge is useless when you don't go after it
well, yeah, you don't go after it, but you also don't use it for
for good.
right.
Yes.
It's if you
The
use it
same
like,
as technology. If you don't use it for good, it creates problems.
yeah, if you use it as a tool, but the
Mhm.
tool is to solve a problem,
Right.
right? That's why I say stories in the solution, not just, I mean, I could tell you stories. Oh, I got electrocuted at 9 years old, but what's the solution? Like, the story is great, but you know what I mean? But like
What's there to
everybody
learn
has a
from it?
story. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the people that listen to the stories and that and this is what I found is because I don't listen to myself. But like when the people that listen to the stories, they tell me, "Oh, well, it made me feel like I'm not alone." So that tells you that there's people like you and I that
Mhm.
that feel this way.
Mhm.
But the problem with the world is, and I say back to be the beginning, it's like the IRS. They have such a stronghold on people's minds of fear that
Yes.
if you don't do what I say,
Yep.
and if people just were like, the hell with you, and that's it,
Our lives are controlled, surveilled. I mean, there's no privacy anymore.
well, we gave it up.
Yes.
Yes,
Ourselves. Just
Yeah, I'm
we do
telling
it
voluntary.
you, I
ourselves
was,
out of
I
fear.
was, I was, when they had 9/11, and I understand what was going on, but when they put that Homeland Security, and first thing I said, A, I'm from New York. Planes don't fly around there. B, I was like, wait a second. How did they put this together that fast?
Mhm.
There
It was
wasn't
a,
AI. This
it
was
was,
all
it was
planned.
already planned. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm automatically the boogeyman. It's like, oh, this get away from him. Like he's a conspiracy guy. Not, well, gee, that kind of makes sense, right? You got like 4,000 pages and like, look how long it takes to pass a law, unless it's in their favor. But you're
Right.
gonna come out with this
Right.
Homeland Security that covers everybody,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
so I was already done. And then when they came out with the RFID chips in your credit card,
Mm.
I didn't use credit cards. I went and got cash. And then I would leave my credit card at home because I was so much anti like you don't need to know where I'm going,
Mhm.
you know? And isn't that one of your rights? Like you're supposed to be able to travel.
Right.
You're a citizen. No one should be telling you, like even when the
Follow
police,
you around.
yeah. So when the police
That's
pull you over and they
stalking.
say where are you going, none of your business.
Right.
That's your right, you know.
Yes.
But then that causes you problems. So then people submit, and I'm one of those guys, as we've had this conversation, that I've been punched in the face because I speak my mind. You know, I don't like when people feel like because of a name or a title that makes you or gives you the right to speak down to someone versus you forget when you leave, you are the person with that title, you're still a human being, and you wouldn't want someone talking to you like that.
Right, right.
Right.
But the minute you have power, I don't care if you work at 7-Eleven and you become the manager, or if you're the United States president, you you still have power, and you're still saying, "Oh, I can boss somebody around." And I think that's where it's wrong, and that's why I say with AI, if it's not controlled, that's why they have Terminator and these movies. They're telling you a
There
long
for a
time
reason,
ago.
right?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, long time
Right.
ago. They're warning you like this is
This
get
is what's
ready.
coming. Yeah.
It is kind of difficult because when you think in terms of like having power and being the boss or the manager, sometimes it's complicated because some people, unless you boss them around, they won't do their job,
Then get rid of them.
right?
That's me.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have to boss you
when it's
around.
not up to you, it's something. Like when it's up to you, fine, right? But if it's not up to you to fire them, and you're like
Oh,
the
I see.
middle person, the middle supervisor, and the manager, I can't fire nobody, right? Like I've been in that position where it's like how do you deal with people who feel entitled, don't want to do their job, and then you just need to boss them around. And but it gets to a point where you struggle with the power that you're saying, like
Mm.
you want the power, you want to feel powerful, you want to, feel above other people. But the way it starts though, it's not like all of a sudden you just hungry for power. It's
Yeah,
in a lot of ways people push you to that end. It's like
I
a dynamic that it happens. We're all in this, dynamic of trying to manage one another, trying to follow direction and trying to lead that, I don't know. Sometimes I think like we're a big experiment and we are puppets.
to the aliens. So so
Yeah.
so I
Yeah.
so so Mario, you said this earlier about how you feel like we're being exposed. So
Mhm.
I feel like this, and to what you were saying, Bertha, I feel like if we are a people and we feel the need for power, that means, see, that's why I say, like, I kind of think most people now, because of all the technology, are on the one or two dimensional. They're three-dimensional beings, but their thinking is being given to them. So they're not really there, right? I don't want to hang out there. So for me, I don't think I'm better than somebody. I think I don't communicate with them because I don't want to hang there. And when it comes to power, I feel like I've said this a million times, but like get in a car accident and get trapped in a car that's on fire, you have no power. So it's just a moment. And
Mm.
if people let that go, the true power is the fact that you don't flex. Like I've had people get in my face because I'm pretty skinny, but it's like, but I think when they look you in the eye, people can tell this guy's for real, right?
Mm.
Mhm.
Versus, you know what I
Yes,
mean? Like you can
yes,
tell who not to
yes,
mess with, right?
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
Very few people can hold up the eye stare.
exactly. So like to me, I think that power is in you first.
Right.
And if you allow people to take you off of your where you stand, whatever it is you believe in, then you gave that power. And
Mhm.
that's why I say, like, I think that's why we are in this situation, because
Mhm.
people are so, it's kind of like the way I keep viewing it is people are going doing this and they're going, well, I know I'm giving this up, but it's so much easier.
Yeah.
You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, but I don't have to do laundry anymore because I could tell, the Jetsons. We're all old enough to remember that cartoon.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so I feel like the Jetsons, Hanna-Barbera, back then, they made it seem like this is unattainable, but it's in the future. Well, for them to have that drawn up, they already had these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So when
As
people tell
as
me
I was
like,
telling you earlier,
yeah, yeah, you know what I mean? It's
they
like you,
had it. It was just not revealed to us.
that's right. And you
Yeah.
can't say like, even when they came up with what is it, Star Trek, and
Yes.
the thing takes off, and you see for you to know that that's what that is, even if it's in your imagination, something showed you there was something that allowed your brain to know that that's possible,
Hmm.
right? And
Yes.
that's why I say we are the slaves to whatever put us here, because I don't think as stupid as we are is like human. Like I keep saying this. Why is it that every single time, I don't care which president you have, I don't care which king you have, which pope you have, there's war, and and you're blowing up, killing people when you're talking about, oh, these people are hungry. These people, that's what started the war. These people are uneven lives. That's what started the war. So now we're gonna blow up everything, and then that money you claim you don't have, shooting off bombs costs more than feeding the people and building the
Mm.
country,
Mhm.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mhm.
right? So most people don't want to hear that because it's your country that you live in that is perpetuating that. So that's the control. It's
Yeah.
like I don't want to see myself as a part of the problem,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah. So going back a little bit onto the power, and another one of the biggest problems that we have is that if we are only able to listen to title, so many
Hmm.
times you meet people and they're fine with you and everything, but then as soon as they find out, oh, so you're not the boss, or oh, you're not the minister, or you're not the expert,
Yeah.
you're not this, you're not that, then they
Respect is
totally
gone.
change, right?
Yep.
And also I have I did this experiment, going to Home Depot, and I look sometimes, like if I'm a homeless, my wife tells me, it's like, you need to dress up a little bit more. Because I'm like underneath the house working, and I need a piece of piping and I gotta go. I'm not gonna dress up to just go and pick up a piece of
Oh, I
piping and go
see.
back. No, I just like, and so you look for help and it's like, really?
Nobody
No
wants to
one.
help you.
Yeah. But then one day I dressed up and everything, and it was like, and then they approached me like, "Hello, sir, is everything okay? Did you find everything? Do you need any help?" I was like, "Oh no, thank you." But at the same time, we have experienced people reacting towards us different because we didn't have a title,
Yes.
or when we had a title. So it's just crazy. I played a lot with different people, and then they do not know that what I do in my career, and so they see me as a normal person. I talk to anyone pretty much the same, kind of like treat people as people, right? And so they never would think that, like, oh wow, that's what you do. Like, yeah, that's what I do. Like, oh wow, like, why is that so impressive? Like,
I
it
I
shouldn't change
find
your
it
perspective.
impressive from where you came from.
Mm,
Uh-huh.
If I see, and here, this is a good example of AI. If I met you back then and AI was in place, and then 20 years later you're doing what you're doing, I wouldn't think anything because it'd be like, oh yeah, well that's what we were doing. Like
yeah.
like you know what I mean? Like when I was growing up, I was the guy writing MS-DOS for I
Mm.
was programming the old school floppy disk
Yes,
computer,
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
right?
I did that too. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I would have
I
been
used
a
those.
billionaire, right? But
Right,
by
right,
now,
right, right.
but I had no interest. It was
Yeah.
like I didn't see the vision. It was,
Mm.
what was the point of me doing this? Like I
Right.
didn't, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it didn't. It seemed like more work than what I was going to get out of it.
Right,
And
Mm.
right, right.
right,
It looked like a
whereas
little game.
yeah, and I just didn't have interest. It was like, well, I don't really care what it can do. And then when as like you said, like as you get older, you go, oh, I use a typewriter, but now you can put it in here and it, spell checks. And yeah, those
Right.
tools are great, but we're also speaking of normal people that want progression, not control. That's what I mean
Right.
by that
That's the
power,
big difference. Yes.
Hmm.
That's the shift to power. And we are surrendering that power instead
Not
of
me.
taking that power and making us stronger. So it depends. It's the same tool. It can make you stronger,
Hmm.
or it can make you powerless.
Yeah,
And it's
if you
just
give
gonna,
it away. So
and
what you said earlier
yeah,
about what you think the kids are missing out on.
yes. So thinking about like even my life experience, what allowed me to become the person that I became, right? And then the upgrade bringing where I was born and we didn't have no floor. It was just dirt, you know. And I didn't think of anything up there, like when we had rain outside the house, then we went in and continued playing marbles and it was fun, right? Because we didn't have no issue with the floors. So yeah.
Yeah, other people do,
He probably did, right?
right?
And so we didn't, but then we started seeing our neighbor, putting some flooring. I was like, oh, it looks nice, like, and so then you started comparing yourself into who has more. And then the desire of that, right? Of being able to like, maybe one day we can have some flooring, some concrete or something to and but just as we're growing, you have those experiences and where you get to enjoy the rain, you're in the mud and
Hmm.
muddy waters and everything. You have to fetch for different things, working on the fields at early age and stuff like that. And then
Yeah.
it's like, is that what our kids are missing out? Would I put my kids through it? And the answer is no, because at the moment I enjoyed it, but seeing it now is like, man, that was hard labor. That was a lot of work. I was
Yeah.
dirty all the time, like no wonder, no one really wanted to get close to me and stuff. But so I wouldn't put him through that. But then that allowed me to be who I am now.
Hmm.
But
Because I was
even
gonna
if I
say
was to
that's your substance.
yes, even if I was to take him back to where I was born and raise a kid that way, it would be completely different because of the environment, right, that we live in right now. So, is how do we manage nowadays to be able to raise our kids in a way where they can flourish just the same way we did?
Hmm.
And in reality, is not so much on how we were raised or the circumstances, I would say, but more than anything, the experiences that I got to learn, that I got to manage. I got to manage my money, I got to manage, my time, when to go to sleep, when to get up, when to do different things. Take advantage when there was food and kind of like, it's okay, we'll be fine when there wasn't really that much food, so it's
That's how I grew up.
yeah, the rationalities of different things. So it's that experience are you are raised and I was able to be brought up and grow and acquire different things. So they didn't have to go through
Hmm.
the things that I went through. But it's like, am I having them miss on so much? Is it that why they are different now than how I was? And yeah, in reality they are. But they have their own struggles. And sometimes it's kind of like, why are you struggling for? Like, we didn't even have nice
Yeah.
shoes, and you're struggling because now they got dirty. It's like, come on, like, but it's
Well, I
a
could tell
whole
you what
different world. Yeah.
I can tell you what I think, and Bertha, say jump in whenever you want to. Um, I feel like how I said earlier about the way we grew up, it was you have to think for yourself. Whereas the way they're growing up, my kids are 10 and 13. It's everything thinks for them. Every time you ask them a question, it's I don't know. So it's the extraction of, how do I feel? What do I want to do? Do I want to go outside and get wet? Do I want to, like, I was a kid that didn't really like playing in the dirt, but I love playing with my cars. Now I can share that with my son, but he likes art, right? So it it is the experience, but I feel like it's the shared experience because just because we like something doesn't mean that they should because they're from our DNA, but they're not us, right?
Right.
So, but I think that the problem is the more technological we become, the less connected, and this is what we were saying earlier, was the less we're connected to the inside. And maybe that's what my problem is like, I fight, like, okay, I want AI to help me with my my shirts, right?
Mhm.
I want AI to help me with uh, my ratings or whatever it may be, my music or whatever it may be. But I'm so weary of who controls that once I put my audio in there, because so and so Spotify can say they own my voice on this podcast, even though it's my copyright. You like most people don't think like that. Same way when we get a phone. You may not agree to half that stuff, but you want to make your phone work, so you hit I agree.
Mhm.
And that's that power. And I'm the guy that's like, that's why I say I get punched in the face a lot because I speak my, well, because I speak my mind. I don't mean it in a bad way. I've never meant
Mhm.
anything like maliciously. It's just the truth. It's like, well, like how I was telling you earlier,
Mhm.
it looks a certain way, but but it's not really what it was, right? Um, I think with the way we are with our kids, for example, I know the computer dominates. So I'm like dedicated to the weekends. I take my kids like this weekend, we'll probably go to Pismo Beach or something. Um, I take them out like everywhere, ride bikes, hiking, just exploring things. Um, we drive and I make them look outside because I tell them like, about putting their feet in the soil and grounding
Mm.
and I think that's our job. That no matter how, if you know where we came from, then we should be connected to that and teach that. And you can still use, like you said, both of you said, like why not use it? But it should be the tool. It shouldn't become you, or you shouldn't
Right,
become it. And
right.
that's what I think is what's wrong with today. Everybody's lazy. And it's like, oh, you know, da da da. Da. And then, you get like a real problem and then no one knows what to do because it's,
Mm.
how do I get out the room? Chat GPT. You know, it's like turn the door handle to, clockwise. And then it's,
We used
oh,
to we used to use maps.
yeah, like the
Now it's
Thomas guide.
GPS everywhere.
Yeah, and half the
You
time it's
get so
wrong.
lost.
Uh,
Yeah, see?
I
And it's
remember going flipping through the pages of the Thomas Guide and writing down my
100%.
directions from
I'm
the
the same.
map
Yep.
and getting there, and getting lost. And now it's the GPS.
Yeah, I don't trust GPS all the time.
Not
I'm
anymore. No,
nah.
no,
Yeah.
no.
My wife will
Yeah.
look at it like religiously, and I'm more like, what are the exits? And then I know the freeway to get there. But
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, I don't trust any. I actually don't like driving the freeway because I don't like being stuck. Just, I'd rather just drive through the road somewhere. I'll
Right,
find a
right,
way.
right.
Yeah. But I just think it's the way we think. And like you said earlier, we are fed to where we're not supposed to think. So
Right.
the people like us are the weirdos,
Yes.
Yes.
right? That,
Yes.
So when I think about the kids nowadays, what they're missing out from the past, I don't think they're missing out on anything because they don't know, like we were saying at the beginning.
yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like what the problem is like they don't appreciate
Hmm.
in the way we want them to appreciate. But they do appreciate in the way they know nowadays. Like it seems like things have changed. Before we had a goal. We had no floor, we want floor, right?
Hmm. Right.
So nowadays, what's the goal? Well, we have
Oh,
floor,
I want
we have a roof
big
over our
house.
head. We want a bigger house, we want a mansion, we want. So, it's almost like we're just from different worlds. It's different timelines, different, we
Different
live different
dimensions.
experiences. Yeah. But in a way, I feel like they're not missing out on anything, but at the same time, we want them to be or appreciate the things our way or be our way, but they're different. Like it's been difficult for me to let go of my this is the way it should be because well, if that's the way it should be, then they don't have a right to be themselves.
True.
So
And yeah, I agree with you.
no, it's not the way it should. My way is not the way it should be. It's the way I should be, but it's not the way they should be because they're free to be themselves. They're old. They're old enough. They're overage. They're not kids anymore. So
Mhm.
they do have the freedom to choose, just like I do. Just
So how
because
do you,
they're my children doesn't mean that they're confined by my view, and they have to be like me, and they have to believe like me, and they have to think like me, and they have to appreciate things like I do. They
there's
can be free to do that on their own.
there's a group, I have it here, but they're called Black Voices, and they're like I want to say they're African, but I don't know. But I know they're black, but they're but they're um they have a song, I guess it's a song, and one of the parts of the verse is uh they come through you, but they're not for you,
Right,
right?
right,
And to me, like I was saying, like my son, for example, he's an actor. So I'm the music side, but I'm kind of like behind the scenes. I love making music, but I don't really like to be in the front. He's more upfront, right? So if I was, I guess, not aware of who I am, then I would stifle him because I'd be like, you sure you want to go out there?
right, 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 right.
Right?
Yeah,
But I push him to say, hey, if this is what you want to do, you got my blessing,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
So I agree with you. They're not missing out on what they don't know, but
Right,
I do believe we owe them a connection to what made us good human beings.
mm,
The rest of it, who cares? If you and I view ourselves as good human beings, I do. Whatever anybody else thinks, who cares? But like you know what I mean? Like that's
mhm,
their opinion.
right,
And that's exactly my point. It's like you can think what you want of me, but how much time have you spent with me?
right,
Right? So if you like take what someone says and you don't have the picture of the background of what is fills in their soul, right, of who they are, you're gonna come up whatever the way you grew up and the biases you were taught. And you know what I mean? And it's so you if you are taught not to judge people, or if you're taught to not seek power and harmony and peace and knowledge, right? You pass that on to your kids. No matter
mhm,
how much money they have, they still have knowledge. They're going to seek knowledge. They're going to be peaceful people
mhm.
because the money isn't running them, right?
mhm,
But if we
yes,
say, oh, well, the way people are now, let's just let them run amok and do what they're going to do because, you either get with the program or not.
right.
It's somewhere along the line, that's why we have Star Wars.
Right.
Because because there's the dark side.
And
you
we
know
got to be aware of that and make him aware of it too. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I
yeah.
agree. I agree with the connection that you're talking about because somehow, I don't wanna say is religion or, I do believe it's a moral standard, but it's not necessarily founded in religion because you've seen a lot of kids from religious parents who turn really bad.
Mm,
So where's the connection there, right? So I think the connection is very important because who you are, I'm trying to put it through where everywhere you've been, who you are, it is it's like a collection of where you've been and what you've been through. And so you are with your kids all the time. They see you, we talk, we discuss things, they see how I think,
mhm.
they see my feelings, whether they can understand me or not. It's that interaction, everyday interaction. Not necessarily did you pray today? Did you read your Bible? Did you go to church? Did you not? It's how you live, basically. Your lifestyle is what gives them that connection, because you are a recollection of everything you've been through.
Hmm.
And when they come to you for advice and you tell them and you get the chance to give them a story, the story has a lesson. And speaking
Yes.
of stories that give results, is like every single time your kids come to you with something and you get the chance to share from your experience what you've been through, where you've been at, how you solved it, what worked for you, because it's not like do it this way or else. No, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
you just share from your experience.
Yeah. It's from your heart.
And I believe that's where the connection comes from. But it has to do with the type of parent that you are as well, because so many parents are toxic. Resort to just telling their kids what to do instead of let just sharing with them and letting them choose what to do.
Yeah.
Because in the end, it's their problem, not yours.
Yes.
In the end, you're gonna be, the one putting a face to the problem, not me. I
That's
remember my
right.
daughter telling me, I don't want to do my homework. She was 8 years old. And I said, okay, don't do it.
I'm the same way.
And then she would be like, you told me not to do my homework. I said, well, you don't want to do it. I'm never
Right.
going to make you do anything you don't want to do.
Hmm.
And then she sat there for a bit and then she got to do her homework.
I tell my
Later
daughter the
on,
same thing.
I didn't question her. I didn't ask her nothing. Later on, I said, wait a minute, didn't you say you didn't want to do your homework? She said, but if I don't do my homework, I'm not going to go out to play. I'm not going to do this and I'm not going to do that. My
Yeah.
That's
teacher is
right.
not going to like it. I mean, she knows.
Yeah, there's a
So it
consequence.
was, yeah.
Yeah, they don't have those anymore. Not at school.
But
Mm. You know what's weird?
yeah.
And tell me if I'm wrong, but we as educators get more consequences than the kids.
Yes. No, you're not wrong.
And it's like we do way more work. And
Right.
and we have families and we have stress and health, my health issue. But it's like,
Yeah.
to me, it's like, how do we have more consequences when we're supposed to be raising these kids to show them parameters? That's what teaching is.
Right, right, right.
We have that social emotional thing in the morning, and I sometimes share. Like, I remember one of the days I was there, and it was the day after my infusions, and I really wasn't feeling well. And I told them, I was like, I'm just letting you guys know, I don't feel good. I have this issue. And then this one girl at the end, she put in the chat, can you go to a breakout room? And she tells me, thank you for sharing. Her mom was there, and she's like, I was listening to you, and you made her feel like she was okay because she has like an issue. And to her, because I shared, it made her want to share,
Hmm.
Mhm.
right? And it made her feel okay.
Right,
So,
right, right.
Yes.
There
but
was
if
a
we,
connection.
yeah, but do you know what the problem is? And again, Mario, tell me if I'm wrong. It's like within the school system, if you have a connection, there's something wrong with you,
Right.
right?
Well,
You're doing
I,
something wrong.
not necessarily. And I gotta say that it's also it takes a lot to educate people that what you're doing is not wrong, and especially those who are supervising you.
That's what I
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
It's like we're in an educational place,
Yes.
but people are ignorant.
It's yes, even though they have titles. Yes.
Yes.
I was like,
That sounds very
don't
ironic.
you have a title? And why are you so ignorant of that?
It is what it
And
is.
reality is,
That is so ironic.
yeah, a title doesn't make you
No,
lose or
I
whatever
say
the
I say
case.
it
But
every day.
yeah, and so it's just change. It takes a lot though, because in my experience, I was able to build something out of nothing.
Hmm.
And even when there was pushback from everyone, I'm talking about everyone.
Yeah.
Including me.
And I'm talking about everyone.
Yeah.
And so, but once, see, this is the crazy thing. Once I was able to show students that they can be successful, there was no stopping on them. They believed it, they saw it, they smelled it, they lived it. And then it was more like, okay, they continue to develop on that. But also now the people that was kind of like supervising us, that was pushing back first, they
Hmm.
then went ahead and wanted to take the credit.
Yeah, see? Yeah,
And it's like,
I'll stay silent.
really? Like you're gonna do that? Like, oh my gosh, now they're the ones who want to be in the front, right? They want to be in the article, they want to be in it's like
TV interviews.
I was like, this is, but the kids saw through it as well.
Hmm.
And it was just one piece of being myself and being able to like push hard enough so that when whatever I believed had results. But if I didn't push through until I actually got the results, then they would have said, oh, I
He
was
just
right.
talked. Yeah,
I was right.
yeah,
Like I should have not let him do this or do that. And that's why I push him hard to not do it, blah, blah. But when I push harder to be myself in that sense, because I believe what I was doing, it was good. And then I just needed the proof. And it
mm,
was more like it was crazy because the year before we went and out of, five prizes, we got two prizes on the world stage, so it was really good. But the kids were like crying and disappointed. I was like, why are you crying and disappointed? You won two different prizes at the world
right.
stage, but we didn't win this
The
race.
first one.
The
I
Yeah,
was
main
like,
one,
that,
yeah.
oh, so you won the main one.
yeah.
And then I told them, okay, now we need to define what success is.
Hmm.
Because I'm thinking that we've been successful in here. You made it to Europe, first time you are flying out of the country. That is good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But then they were crying. That wasn't enough.
Because
It
they
wasn't
didn't win.
because they didn't win the race,
Yeah,
like, okay,
but that still comes back to that's what I'm saying. It
Appreciation.
comes back to who your family is teaching you what this
Exactly.
success is. Like it,
exactly. Yeah,
Appreciation,
yeah.
yes.
And
yeah,
so I told them, all right, from now on, what we're gonna do is we need to define what success is. What is it that is gonna make you happy? What is it that you want? We want to win the race. All right. Perfect. That's success for you. You win the race. Now, let's define what that means and what is it going to take. Because one thing is you wanting that, but then it's just wishful thinking, right? You just wish, but you never do anything. But now, okay, this is what we need to do. If you want to win it, this is what it's going to take. And
right.
sure enough, we got to work. We had 1 year, and then the following year, then we became the world champions, right? So it was such a great experience, the joy. I mean, it was amazing. They fulfilled their dreams, but it took a lot of work, especially because we weren't world champions material.
Okay.
So we had to develop
So
and
so
change. And
like someone that goes to the Olympics and you say, "Oh, I'm from Ohio," like versus, I'm from LA or I'm from New York or,
right, 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 right.
you know,
Like if that's gonna do it, right? Or that's gonna be in that experience. But in that sense, I mean, it's like they finally were able to put it together and they saw what it takes. Now, did they want to do it again? I mean, it was kind of like that takes a lot of work, and some of them just pulled out. I was like, I know what it takes,
Mm.
and I don't want to do it again, which is fine. But at the same time,
Me.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
it defines you at different points. So and it also builds your character, right?
So
For
you
me, it was such a great joy that my vision that I had for them, I was able to bring them to that level. Instead of me, they would see me like all that work for nothing. It was just your dream,
right, right.
and it
But
was,
then but you
yeah,
did the right thing because you made them see that you still got there. And then even if you have something to achieve after that,
right,
versus like you said, if you didn't get them anywhere,
right.
they should still appreciate the journey.
Yes, they should,
But they're
but
not going to.
experiencing the year before, they didn't. So the following years, like, no, we want more. And
Yeah,
sometimes that's precisely what we need to inspire in the kids or anyone else, right?
yeah,
You want to have more peace, more joy, more happiness,
yes.
things that fulfill you. And then it gets to a point where like, okay, is it too much? And then that's the other problem. And so we'll talk about it later on that one, because I can go on the other side and forget that there's a whole different world that is attached to myself, especially family, where, it's just too much. I lose focus of what's important.
Like the nutty professor.
Like, I like which one?
Like
The nutty
the
one.
nutty professor. Like he goes in his lab and he forgets what was important because he's so fixated on what he's doing.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So like
I
like
have to
a, like
watch
you
that.
like he's a scientist and he's coming up with this invention.
Inventions, right?
Yeah, but he just believes and he believes
Yeah.
and
I
I
think I've seen it.
yeah,
I
so
think I've seen it.
no, I get you.